Okay, now, reading with a question in mind. A literal question, an inferential question, a question that leads us to seek further information. We don't always have to have questions that are in the text, because that can propel us into further reading, further research, further inquiry. And a question that doesn't always have one correct answer, to expand the discussion and the thinking and the debate. For instance, the motives of a character. I might think one thing and Linda thinks another. So there's the discussion and the generation of the why and the going back into the text and the justifying of opinion. Starting from an early age, not thinking, oh yes, in Year 7 students need to do that, but from an early age, through doing it orally, modelling it, scaffolding it, and doing it across their primary years. And it moves students from learning to read to reading to learn. And the continuum of independence in their comprehension strategy use and that concept of gradual release of responsibility. Okay, so the during reading leads to after reading. We're going to look at reciprocal a little closer. People have indicated that will be useful. But just to point out with reciprocal, it creates the discussion within the group and the clarification and the learning from each other, and that there's evidence and research around cooperative learning processes. And really that's what we've been talking about this morning, engaging students and cooperative learning, learning from each other. But not in a way that is not structured, but for a purpose, at the right time, for the right students. And the discussion afterwards leads to articulation of what I learned, reading is about, reading to learn, or how I problem solved, or the strategies that I used. The articulation of learning, the metacognition around it, and further discussion of questions the teacher directed to before the reading, what we found and how we did it. Okay, and that also relates to the workaround that we mentioned in our first session about students' self-talk and prompts. And the point here about we've moved into asking our Prep to 2s to articulate their problem-solving strategies in terms of learning to read and decoding. A decade ago, we would not really have even thought it was possible that young students would be able to say, what will I do when I get stuck? I'll look at the picture, I'll reread, I'll think about what makes sense, I'll cross-check and I'll look at a initial sound plus the picture plus what makes sense. Young students can now articulate that. The picture here is for all of our students to also be able to articulate comprehending strategies, to make a plan before the reading, to implement it, and to actually talk about it after the reading. That conscious awareness of the range of strategies that they can use. And again, it moves us into the realm of teaching comprehension, not just testing for it. Okay. Is that making sense so far? Just, and here it is, this is the crux of it. The question is, what are you thinking about as you read? And going back to what we said earlier, if you're having students and your monitoring indicates they're not comprehending that well, they're not really thinking as they read or don't really know the range of strategies that they need to use and employ to be efficient readers and comprehenders. Okay. Oh, well, what we'll do... Oh, no, going the wrong way. Just chat for a couple of minutes at your tables and I'm going to give you the handouts. And I think that we're about to have our morning tea, so I'll just check. Chat for a minute. Catch up so far. Okay, questioning. Now, we do know that there are other types of questioning across the continuum. We know there's open-ended, we know that there is analytical and questions that call for synthesising. We know that there's Socratic questioning. But I want to talk around these for a particular purpose. We're not going to spend time on literal because we're all really good at creating literal questions. And many of our students are good at that too. But we're going to, although these are in a hierarchy of difficulty, we're going to come down to inferential and then come back up and talk about reorganisation in a moment. Okay, with inferential questions or inferential reading, we talk about it a lot. But what do we mean? Asking inferential questions or reading inferentially?
May not be directly stated.
Not directly stated.
What the author would agree with.
Yeah, what the author would agree with or think. Yep.
Beyond the text.
Yep. Thinking beyond the text and using information beyond the text. Yep. Other things?
Read between the lines.
Yep. I was waiting for that one. I was going to keep going because it always comes up. Reading between the lines. Okay.